Cronk falls on it. That will be it. They've defended their title. They are still the champions and the first in a united competition since 92-93. Here's around for Farrell. He's over in his debut grand final. Wow, what a story for the kid. 10 minutes in the sin bin for the retiree. Here's Cooper, one to beat. It's gone inside of the Roosters to Tedesco. He goes in to score.
Well, Roosters fans, our mighty Chooks took the trip up to Suncorp Stadium to take on the might of the Brisbane Broncos. Well, we all know there were 59 reasons to love that game. We scored across the park. Backs, forwards, Lindsay, Collins, the Morrises, Luke Keary, you name it, we got across the stripe. And I can safely say they tried to take Victor Radley's arm off in the process, and all he did was pick him up and dump him. Bells, Silky, what a game, what a performance. Attack, defence, Jake Friend like a magician, a modern-day hooker with all the skills. What a win, what a game for the fans to watch. What a great week 2. We are back, baby, and welcome to Roosters Radio for week 2.
Great intro, Bush, and a special welcome, of course, to Bells. She's back in the hot seat. It's been a while, Bells.
I'm back. It's so good to be in the studio here with you boys and just to talk footy again. How good was that game?
Well, Bells, let's hope you've benefited from the break like our footballers.
Yes, I am just pumped to be back and just to be chatting footy with everyone. It's just awesome having NRL back on television to watch our beloved game again. And that game against the Broncos on Thursday night, 59-0. What a fantastic game. It was just awesome seeing our front rowers take on that young forward pack. Lindsay Collins, he was one of my highlights. Oh, I just want to go straight to him, Silky, because I know you wanted to have a chat about Lindsay, but how good did he go?
Unbelievable. His stats were up there with some of the best all week. I think he ran for about 200-odd metres, scored a dominant try and was brutal in defence, and he had that real war with Matt Lodge where Lodge probably took it to him. There was a couple of high shots, and what I really like about Lindsay Collins in the last 2 games is his error rate has dropped. Look, he's known to have a few little errors in him, but it seems like he's maturing as a footballer, and we've watched him progress over the last couple of years. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a bolter for Queensland.
Yeah, masterstroke coach Robinson. You know he's always got a plan, Robbo, and I think the way he's brought Lindsay into this side, into this team, and just has the faith in him. We all happen to know he's a massive Lindsay Collins fan. He likes the way he plays. He slots him in at the right time and gets across the stripe. Keary comes across from that Tupu flick pass. Keary's looking sideways, and Lindsay Collins just like a rocket.
Straight and hard.
Under the posts, one tooth missing. What more could you ask for?
Big body, tough, strong, talented. Quick, off the bench. Like you've got Hargraves and Takiauhau. One has a rest, and look at who comes on. Yep. Fantastic. I mean, Zane Tedavano did a great job for the Roosters in that role.
Did.
And, you know, he's at the Panthers now. But as you said, Bush, part of the grand plan, Robbo knew exactly, you know, Zane moving on, Lindsay stepping into that role, and I'm excited to see him this year.
We'll talk probably about a number of our players because there's so many we need to give a rap to. But talking about the bench, Isaac Liu was running through the middle like a 5'8".
Oh.
You know, I don't know what his metres were for the game, but like, look, our forward pack dominated them. We dominated them across the park.
His footwork, mate. His footwork. It was footloose. He was Kevin Bacon. He was unbelievable. And just that inside ball, that slip, we're actually making a lot of yards up the middle and turning the ball inside. Victor Radley again. I mean, playing that first receiver role, sweeping across, as you said, Bells, hooking up with Luke Keary of the Morris twins. He's giving so many options to Flano. Flanagan's just, he's grown another leg of confidence. He is just growing and growing and growing on fans. We love him.
I think that was a great result for young Flanagan. I think he kicked 9 out of 10 or something like that, but it got him an opportunity to play himself into a bit of form. Not to say that he wasn't, but
he ran the ball, mate. What you're saying is he got a chance to run the line.
What about when he threaded the needle? There was a try on the right-hand side. I don't know if it was Crichton, where he just threaded the needle, but he took the line on. He's playing with a bit of confidence. I dare say after the trip to England, coming back, new systems in place. There was a lot to take on board. The 9-week break would have done him a world of good. They're starting to train again. They're starting to get used to the players around him, which leads me on to Victor Radley, who plays a great role in assisting both Keary and Flanagan in the halves.
Yeah, Flanagan played outstanding, I thought, and it actually did look like that he's been there for some time now. He slotted right in and he played to all the other players' strengths, as you said. So well done to him, and I'm looking forward to a great year for him as well.
I think what Coach Robinson did from a fan's perspective is we've got some hardened players who've played a lot of footy. I love how he used Boyd and Jared really sparingly. Like, no disrespect to the Broncos, but they just looked a bit outclassed. Look, they're a young side, and I was very respectful of the fact that there's a lot of debutants there. They've got a few experienced players mixed amongst them with Anthony Milford and Darius Boyd. But it just wasn't enough. And, you think that experience, and the Roosters ran over the top. And not just ran over the top, you had the likes of Lindsay Collins and Flano really step up. Keary was at his crafty best, Jakey Friend at hooker. It's just amazing. It was a really, really good night to be a Rooster. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but it was a great chance for us to, I think, Silky, you talk about it all the time. I think you're going to talk about it again tonight. Up-tempo style of play. It's almost like we had an opportunity to see if some of our styles of play would work.
Look, boys, no Teddy.
Yeah, he had the fever. In fact, a few of the players. Flanagan was another. I believe that there was a couple of players that had a temperature when they arrived at the ground, I believe. So, look, they think it's from wearing headphones or wearing too many layers of clothing, but I'm sure the NRL worked that out. But, I mean...
Imagine if he was
Imagine if he was there.
What happens if Teddy plays?
Oh.
Yeah. Ryan Hall went well in his spot.
Ryan Hall went really well. Big body,
That's it.
big
How
winger.
good did the players and the depth of the club come into Ryan Hall coming on the wing, playing a great game, and BMOS at the back, outstanding.
What do we say about the Morris brothers? Because, look, I was a ball boy at the Roosters when their old man Slippery was running around for the Roosters. And what a revelation. Like, if they're going to talk about buys of the year, let's not go off too early. But I just feel that they've got plenty to play for. They want to play out their careers as winners, and they are winners. Yep. That tackle, that try-saving tackle, BMOS on Corey Oates, that was the only attacking play that they had in the game, more or less. But they just know how to win. And in defence, wow, how good are they?
Yeah, I haven't seen a set of twins look that good since Paris and Nicky Hilton.
Yes, they were outstanding, Craig, but they kept them to nil as well, boys, and that was another big positive. Yeah, it was 59. We scored a lot of points, but they kept them to nil. So our D, again, has,
It's funny that late in the game, Brisbane had that little set of play where it looked like there was some loose play there and they might have scored. And I was sitting there watching the TV thinking, I said to my young fella, James, I said, mate, if they score here, he will be absolutely ropeable. And you're right, keeping him to nil was the key. I don't think, once it gets past a certain point, I don't think he's looking for much more attack. He's looking for the solid numbers in defence and, how we protect our line.
Well, Robbo said in the press that they were still hungry when they came in at half-time, which is a really good sign. But I think not only did they keep scoring points, but as you rightfully say, they kept the opposition to zero. Look, we've got a big show tonight. We're going to talk to, I dare say, he's our favourite player, Bush, the one and only Luke Keary. So we spoke to Luke before round one this year.
He's our favourite 5'8" anyway.
But we're going to speak to Luke. And, of course, we want to get a bit more understanding, particularly for our fans, about what's going on in and around the club. So we've invited our CEO, Joe Kelly. Joe not only is the CEO of the football club, but he also is in charge of the East group of clubs. So with everything that's going on at the moment in relation to clubs reopening, we thought it's a good opportunity to get him on. And also with the announcement that there's going to be fans attending games as of this week. Who else better to talk to but the top man himself?
And let me give you a quick scoop, Silky, while we're at it in this intro. Coach Robinson, as promised, on next week, locked in. Jared Johnson, COO, continuing, just giving our fans some information, getting as much as we can in this Inner Sanctum Roosters Radio podcast, keeping abreast of everything's happening right now via podcast.
You're on Roosters Radio, and when we come back, the one and only Luke Keary.
Well, Roosters fans, as always promised, the big names on Roosters Radio. And at the moment, our playmaker, none bigger than the former Clive Churchill medalist, Luke Keary. We only look back years ago when a great decision was made up on a farm somewhere in Coffs Harbour to move him on, and aren't we happy? COVID or not, he is on fire. And Lukey, welcome to Roosters Radio for the second time in 2020.
Yeah, thanks for having us again.
Welcome, Luke.
Luke, I wouldn't mind hopping in first, mate. Obviously, off the back of the COVID period, you were sighted impersonating a builder around the eastern suburbs, juggling study as well. How have you handled or how have you dealt with the whole COVID thing?
Yeah, it was obviously it was just a weird situation for not just us, but like the whole country and the whole world. So everyone was kind of just doing their best to get by. No one's life stayed normal, I don't think, anyone. Correct. So, yeah, we were no different. We obviously stopped for 5 or 6 weeks and kind of just got to do other things, and I ended up on a work site with Victor Radley, probably the worst situation out of everyone.
Can you just give us a bit of insight, because I spoke to Victor and he says you were awful as a tradesman or as an apprentice tradesman. Let's get your side of the story.
Yeah, it's funny he tells everyone that I was the apprentice. I was actually a builder when I was younger, so he was actually my apprentice for the 3 or 4 weeks, and I was telling him what to do, but he likes to flip the story.
Now, Luke, just on the rules and regulations, obviously we've had to, getting the NRL back, we've got some heavy rules and regulations that you boys have to abide by that controls the game at the moment. Is it tough? Are they big changes? What's the biggest change that you guys have had to adapt to?
Yeah, I wouldn't say tough. I think it is what it is. Like, it's not hard. Like, it doesn't hurt anyone or anything like that. It's just different. What we had to do to get back, obviously Peter and that team did a lot of work to get us back. So the least we can do is kind of follow the rules and follow the protocols. Probably the most challenging aspect of it would be just not being able to go anywhere, like, other than obviously shopping and essential stuff. You can't really leave the house to do anything. But we understand why we've got to do it. And it won't be. We don't think it'll be there for too much longer. I think obviously everything's starting to get under control. So
it's funny you say that. I actually, before, I didn't know that you guys couldn't go to the shops, that you couldn't see people, that you were pretty much housebound. And I've got the Warriors obviously up at Impact Gym at the moment, and they're training there on the Central Coast, and they're staying in like a really nice apartment, Star of the Sea at Terrigal. But the boys were all saying, we can't go out. We can't go for a walk. We're looking at this ocean. We can't even go and get a coffee. Like, they're not even allowed to leave the premises of the hotel and walk down the road to a beautiful beach. And I don't think the fans realise what you guys have actually done and what you have to do to get this game back onto the park.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the protocols and everything have been published. Obviously, the Warriors are in a bit of a different situation. We're lucky we get to go home to our families and sit at home with them. They've kind of just sitting in the hotel, just not being able to do anything. So they're in a very difficult situation. Yeah, I think the silver lining, we get to go, there's no bubble. We get to go home to our family and spend a bit of time with them and things like that. So it's not all doom and gloom. We've only been doing it for 4 or 5 weeks now. We're hearing that, it may get relaxed in the next couple of weeks depending on the infection rate and things like that. So I think this small sacrifice in the big scheme of things isn't massive, and in a few months' time we'll just look back on it as just a small period that we had to go through to get us back on our feet.
Lukey, we're going to change gears a little bit. We've spent a bit of time on COVID, and I think all fans, supporters alike, very.
Well, I learned something then, Bush.
Yeah, 100%. They're tapping into the experience because everyone loves their league, and I can tell you the 9 weeks without it at this time of year was, just killing people. So it's so good to have you on board. And whatever you got to do, unfortunately, it's what you got to do. And I think there's a bit of respect for what the players are going through. And Bell's, particularly the Warriors, I think the whole game is looking at them as a benchmark, Anyway, changing gears to footy, mate. The break seems to have done us really, really well. What are your thoughts? Because we have just come out of our skin compared to game 1 and 2. It's almost like a different season.
Yeah, it was probably couldn't have come at a better time, to be honest. We've had a long and big and exciting probably 24 months. Obviously, the 2 premierships, and we've travelled overseas a couple of times and done all these amazing things. As a group, we probably never got to sit back and actually reflect on everything because you're so busy into it. And we didn't start the year the way we wanted, and then we all of a sudden had a 5-week break that was not expected. So, and I know for myself, and I know a few other boys, it was the first time in probably our whole careers where we've actually got to stop and just think about what we've done and what we want to do moving forward, like as personally and as a team. We've all of our boys, I think nearly our whole team's playing for Australia or New Zealand in the off season too. So it doesn't stop then either. This is the first time where I think it was 5 weeks where we literally had nothing. There was no pressure, no training, no anything, and you get to think about what you actually want to do and what you've actually done, which was kind of cool.
Mate, just from a fan's perspective, like across, obviously we're devout Roosters and that's our only team. The rugby league itself just seems to be so good, and I know that's with one referee and rule changes, But is there a clue there, Luke? Like when you hang up the boots one day, and hopefully it's not for a long time, well, you look back and go, you know what, that forced COVID period, maybe that's how we treat our NRL players are like racehorses. Okay, you can't flog them every week, but they get flogged. Does it give you the idea of, hey, that might be a clue there? We should rest for 5 weeks at that period and maybe start about it. Is there something you can take out of it?
I think there is something, something like that. Like we do play a lot of footy, and I do agree. I think the standard has gone up since that break. And I think it's a bit back to that. For 5 weeks, you got to sit there and actually think about the game and, you know, what's been done and what you can do moving forward. And you don't get that time during the year, and in the off season, you just want to get away. It's all happening so quickly. It was actually the first time, and probably in a lot of industries like around the world, it's the first time people have been forced to actually stop and think about things. So, I don't know if they can get that in. It's a hard thing because obviously we've learnt how influential the broadcasters and everything are in our game. I think we'll be looking at more footy rather than less footy in the future, which isn't a bad thing.
Probably should also take this quick opportunity to thank our chairman, Nick Politis, Uncle Nick, for changing the rules and getting one referee in. I had to.
Hey, Luke, talking about getting back to footy, young Kyle Flanagan, you know, you must be happy with the way that he's restarted the season.
Yeah, he's been good. He's I think people forget he's only played, 12 or 13 games. So he's obviously in one of the most important positions on the field, and it takes a long time to learn how to play that position and control games in your own team. And he's well ahead of most people that I've seen in that same position. He's not the complete product, and he knows that, and he's going to work hard his game, and he mightn't be the complete product for years to come. It takes some halves, you know, a long, long time to get where they want to get to. But I think his last 2 games have been really good. He's starting to learn what we need of him and what's expected of him. And I thought he's been really, really good last 2 weeks.
And what about Victor Radley's role in the halves, playing like a second 5'8"?
He wishes.
Giving you the options.
Don't ever say that again.
But it lets you roam either side of the ruck. It's great to watch him take the line on, and then you're playing that second 5'8", if you will. Obviously, it's a tactic. Obviously, it's a
he's
tactic.
He's not his apprentice.
Hey, he's not Victor Keary. Victor's playing second 5'8".
But just that style of play, it seems to suit you.
Yeah, it's been good to watch him develop over the last few years. He's obviously one of the best ball-playing forwards that we've had in the competition for a long time, way back when we used to have the locks that could ball play. But he's kind of taken us back to that. And, it's been handy. I think it's taken a lot of pressure off Kyle that he's been able to play first receiver and free both of us up to do what we want. And, the quality of his ball playing at the moment, it's pretty high, and you can see the way it's affected our team.
And is Cooper involved in any way, shape or form? Was he part of that kind of training, or is he allowed to train with you guys?
No, he's not with us at the moment. I think we're only allowed 10 or 11 staff with us. So Coops he's got his work commitment stuff, so he can't get him this, but he's still in contact with us all the time.
Now, Lukey, I think I got this question right. I wrote it down. Bells has always wanted to hook up with Josh Morris on her left side. No, it's not the right way to answer that. Ask that question, is it? You ask
okay, I'm going to jump right in here and get this correct because Bush is wrong again. You love sweeping around to the left, Luke. We love seeing you sweep around to the left. Something always happened with Latrell there, but now we've got Josh Morris who's stepped in this year, and he's just outstanding at the moment. The couple of games we've seen him play, what's it been like just sweeping around to him and hooking him up?
Yeah, he's good. We obviously all know what he's done and where he's been and things like that. So to get a player of his stature to come to the club and obviously slot in for Latrell where we had a lot of firepower over there, I've noticed a big difference in the last couple of weeks, and probably helps my confidence knowing I can go down there and I've got that centre that I can really rely on. Before that, we obviously had Gussie and Beamos fill in there for a couple of games, which they're not entirely comfortable. But I think you'll see those combinations get better and better over the next couple of months. We've only had 2 or 3 weeks training together, so it should get better. Obviously, Boydo is a massive help having him back there too, and then we've got Big Toops, who he's my favourite player.
He's playing unreal. Hey, Luke. Luke, the new rule changes, obviously it looks like it suits the Roosters' style of play, the up-tempo style of play. Your thoughts on the new rules and how we've adapted?
Yeah, I like them. I didn't know if they were necessary at the time. We knew they were going to suit us, though. We knew we like to keep the ball in play. We feel like we're a very fit football team. We feel like we try to make other teams come with us. We knew this rule would just enhance that and keep the ball in play for longer. So, yeah, I think the better team or the teams that are fitter and have good systems will want this rule to stay, because you have to play football for longer. You have to be able to do it under fatigue, which I think it suits us at the moment.
As a little man, and I don't mean that in any derogative way there, Luke, but it really does seem to suit your style of football, running around those big tired forwards after a couple of six ago.
I've watched a bit too. All the halves are starting to get a few more opportunities, which is a lot more attractive footy. The hookers are starting to get into the game more. We've seen Friendy come up with some stuff around the ruck. So, yeah, I think it just brings those smaller, faster, more agile players into the game. And, yeah, I think it's good. It's good for the brand.
Yeah, it certainly is. Lukey, what's more satisfying after a win? You come off against Broncos, and look, albeit they were a young side and inexperienced, we are just absolutely powerhouse. Or the week before, where you beat the greatest arch rival we had, your former club you took a premiership with. We know that when you sit down, you're going to have a personal thought. For you personally, what's more satisfying?
They're all satisfying, I think.
That's a very Trent Robinson-like answer. What does Luke Keary think? When you're talking to the missus, it's like, God, I love that win.
It's honestly, like, especially after, like, we've done a lot of winning over the last few years. So it was like after those first two rounds, we were disappointed. And then we had the 5-week break, which we didn't get a chance to go out and kind of right those wrongs straight away. So we kind of sat with those two losses for, 2 or 3 months or whatever it was. Yeah, they're all satisfying. Obviously, it's good, or it's great for us to know the fans and the rivalry we got with South, that we can do that for our fans and give them those wins, those memorable wins against South Sydney, and it's also to go up to Brisbane and play them there, which we haven't won in a long time up there. They're both satisfying. I think they're all fun.
Well, you should have heard your sponsor Silky on the team post-game Zoom after the Rabbits. Tell you what, there was red, white and blue. Mate, we're coming up against the Bulldogs this week. They had a nice win against St George, and they're a side that seems to be building with a great coach. How are we going to beat them?
Yeah, mate, they're a tough footy team. I think people write them off. I think it's just that Bulldogs style. They mightn't be the prettiest, but they're going to come with a good attitude. They're going to defend. They're going to make you scrap for everything. I think we've had a few close games. I think we had the 6-0, was it last year or the year before, against them? We've had a few close ones, so we know it's going to be tough. You can't walk out and reproduce the week before. You got to build that again. Yeah, and we know we're going to have to do the work. We're going to have to do the work in the middle. Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
Mate, finally, and we'll let you go on this one. It's been a terrific interview. We love catching up with you all the time. It's very insightful, informative, and always high octane. But do you fancy getting yourself one of those cardboard cutouts? I noticed the Canberra captain had one with a pair of aviators on, and it was just hilarious. As you scroll across, you saw him there. I just think you, maybe with what I saw you wear in Spain, maybe a scarf or, something, one of Silky's outfits that we saw him wear out. Just to express yourself.
I'll leave that to Silk.
Yeah.
No, listen, Luke, thank you so much. I hear might have a bit of a baked lamb put on for dinner tonight, so we better let you go back to your beautiful family and baby Hudson. And thank you so much for your time today, and up the chookies.
Yeah, thanks so much again for having me. See you. Thanks, Zach.
Well, Roosters fans, at all times we need great leadership. And as always promised, the big names keep on coming today. We've had Luke Keary, but would you please welcome our CEO of both our football and our East group of licensed clubs, Mr. Joe Kelly. Joey, welcome to Roosters Radio for the first time in 2020.
Good afternoon, Bush and Silk. Great to be on this afternoon.
Yeah, mate, welcome. It's certainly been a tough period, Joey, and we're going to hit you with the hard questions today and straight to it, mate. As the CEO of the football club and the East group of licensed clubs, you've had lots to deal with over that COVID period and, changes and everything going on around you. Joey, what's been the biggest learnings and challenges you've faced over this COVID shutdown period?
Oh, lots of learnings, lots of challenges, guys. I think the first thing I've noticed through this whole period is that there's no such thing as a crisis management plan for an event like we've experienced this year. So for me, the biggest learning is the importance of having a business model that is adaptive as much as possible to such disruption, whether that be flexible staffing structures, being well-resourced financially to insulate against the financial impacts, and even having the right technologies in place. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know a lot about Zoom until the end of March. But it's become something that's very commonplace now, and I've used it this afternoon on an NRL CEO conference call to great effect. And the efficiencies that we're getting out of some of these new technologies, I think, are important. I think having them in place for events like this is necessary. I think we're finding just new ways of doing business and also evolving our business, and this is another lesson for me over the period too. In terms of challenges, the pace at which we have shut down our businesses and reopened them at the same time, making considered decisions has been the greatest challenge too. That there was just no notice given really to close the licensed clubs. So we got told on the sort of Sunday evening through government announcements that would be closing on the Monday morning. So just the swiftness that everything has occurred has been challenging, and we've still had to make really important decisions throughout that process. So that, for me, led on to the fact that we had to make the unfortunate call on most staff to be stood down, with JobKeeper coming in to rescue us, soon thereafter. But this was certainly, decisions that we didn't make lightly, but we need to deliver compassionately to our staff, but also in the context of long-term financial viability of our group.
Joe Silky here, mate. Look, on the upside, the NRL has really been a leader of sporting organisations around the world. Peter V'landys has, in our opinion, has done a great job getting the game back to where it is. We're already talking about having crowds this weekend, but you've been in the thick of it. How would you rate his performance thus far?
Same as you guys. In my opinion, Peter's done an amazing job. He's been really bullish in picking a date to restart the competition based on where he was seeing COVID trends heading, infection trends heading. And at that time, I think many were probably pretty sceptical that he could actually get it up and running. And since then, he's really been unwavering in getting us back on the field. And also, at the same time, he's had to negotiate two significant stakeholder relationships in the players and the broadcasters in order to ensure that we'd be ready to go back and play on 28 May. So, and secondly, for me, he's also dealt with the clubs really respectfully through this entire period and used the word shareholder on numerous occasions. And as clubs, it's great to be heard as we are shareholders of the game. At 16 clubs, we're vitally important to this game at that elite level. And to now working a collaborative approach with the NRL is really refreshing and positive, considering where we were at the end of round two in a shutdown situation.
He seems like a doer. You've been in sports administration for a number of years. You've worked for Chelsea, a number of rugby league clubs. But what is it that, separates him from some of his predecessors? I
think, number one, really hard work. Number two, I think that he's got great relationships at senior levels of government and stakeholder relationships within our game as well. He just gets on and rolls the sleeves up, backs himself, to the hilt, and uses, the intelligence of, as I said earlier on, where the sort of COVID infection trends were heading. He predicted that, rightfully so, that the numbers would be very, very low by the time 28 May came around. And then, lined up around him a number of people to execute the plan. And it's been executed brilliantly.
Joey, on that note, speaking of executing plans, there's plans to have crowds coming into the picture post-COVID. Where do you see it going, and what intel do you have for our loyal Roosters members, supporters and fans that'll see us back out at the footy cheering on our mighty red, white and Bluesters?
Yeah, even as early as or as late as this afternoon, we've had another NRL CEO conference, Zoom, this afternoon. We're still waiting on confirmation on how it'll even progress for this round yet. What I do believe will occur is that the home teams will be given an allocation of tickets at this stage, a small allocation, and that'll be based on social distancing restrictions of, 1 per 4 square metres in these corporate areas and up to 50 per restaurant or food and beverage area across the entire stadium. So you'll see potentially venues hold from somewhere from 150 to maybe 600 or 700 this weekend.
Wow.
With the hope that, there'll be more good news in the coming days and weeks. And, we won't have too much of a say over ticket allocations for this weekend because it's not our home game, but for next weekend against Parramatta, we'll certainly get some learnings out of this weekend as well. But we are confident that it's going to free up in the near future, that, we could be back at pretty sizable crowds by early July when we hopefully return back to the SCG in round 10 at this stage.
Well, there's a scoop, Bush.
Yeah. Well, just speaking of scoops, Joe, I wouldn't mind giving the fans a bit of an insight. Silky and I believe that podcasting has the power to transform people into a room via the power of audio, and it's the theatre of the mind, if you will. CEO's conference on Zoom, is there the same sort of rivalry that you would see between coaches and players and stuff? Is there a rivalry among CEOs, or is it more of a collegiate environment where it's greater good of the game?
Look, it's pretty collegiate. And I think that probably across the board you'll find that, counterparts at coaching level and football manager level and COO level, I think that when we're in those environments, it's very collegiate. It may be a little bit different on match day, but I think that, generally, we all work well together and, we're looking out for the best interests of the game. So, look, it's certainly one for us really at the moment. It's more about weekly communications with the NRL, understanding where things like these protocols are at, getting updates on funding, etc. But, it's a really more an information session. And what's good is that we're doing those regularly now, whereas in the past they might have been once every couple of months. But the ease of actually doing it from your office, starting the meeting on time and finishing it on time and being back at your desk is, really good in terms of your efficiency and productivity.
Now, Joey, big member pledge coming up for the Roosters. We've had a real drive for this, and can you shine some light on us what our fans can do to support our great club and get back to what the new version of normal will be, and how fans can sort of get back in touch with their beloved Roosters?
Yeah, well, the great thing is now we're back playing football as well. We're back in that regular dialogue, with members each week. The Roosters reports coming out, the pre-match, etc. And that's important that we've got that connection with our members and supporters. We launched back in early May, just as the players returned to on-site training, a membership pledge campaign. And since that date, around the 5th of May, I think, we've had over 5,000 members sign up to the pledge. Wow. And the club can, and what that is the club's retaining their membership fees irrespective of whether they can attend games or not. That's, an enormous show of support in our club. And we hope that we can reward that loyalty with those members, come game day later in the year when crowds can come back in. So certainly we'll be, managing our crowd numbers and prioritising our corporate partners and members that have been certainly supportive and loyal through this entire period.
And let's not forget the Leagues clubs too, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. So three Leagues clubs opened last Monday, so we're back in trade for a week now. And once again, we got the update on that the Friday week before that. So we had 10 days to go from, closed clubs with a skeleton staff to, sort of full rosters of staff members coming back. And one thing that I was delighted in, just hearing from the managers around the three clubs as well, is that our staff were just so delighted to be back. Most of them, just on JobKeeper hours, but ultimately they're back and engaged with the business and with the members that come into our club. So first week back has been, it's been a reasonable week for us as a club too. We've got quite a bit of roadworks going on up at Bondi Junction, just outside of Spring Street, with a new cycleway going in. They've got about a month to go to finish on our side of the street and then move to the other side. But that, is obviously impactful in some way, with getting into the club, etc. But certainly hasn't slowed our members and guests coming into the club over the first week back. So it's been great that we're now back and open as well at the licensed clubs.
Well, Joey, we know as fans, we just could not wait from March 22nd, 2020 to once again hear the beautiful pee of the whistle, albeit one referee, And I know as CEO of a club, you are just dying to hear that beautiful, dulcet, sweet tones of those Queen of the Nile machines just ringing up in Bondi Junction so we can continue to take more players off South Sydney.
Thanks very much, Bush. It's all new territory for me, as you know. I started in the licensed clubs on the 1st of March as well, so learning the business quickly, but we've been able to reflect on our operation during this period as well, and how we come out the other side and how we evolve our business for the future too.
Yeah, mate. Well, we're in very good hands, mate. We know that you've got great pedigree with the experience you've had over at different clubs, been overseas with Chelsea, and you're certainly in good stead. And, mate, Roosters have got great leadership. We wish you the best. We'll be talking to you through the year.
We look forward to seeing the footy in the not-too-distant future, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait, guys.
Thank you, mate.
Very much. East to win.
Welcome back to Roosters Radio. On this Sunday, 4:05 p.m. kickoff out there at Bankwest Stadium, our Roosters take on the Bulldogs. Of course, James Tedesco returning for the Red, White and Bluesters. Guys, Belinda, Bells, more of the same this week. How do you see it?
Oh, I see a bigger scoreline this week. I reckon 69-0.
That'll bring the crowd back. Summer at 69.
Okay, now I'm red.
That's when the Roosters were. Well,
I didn't mean it like that, boys.
well,
Come on.
No, we didn't think you did.
They couldn't possibly, could
in
they?
69, they didn't win a game, I don't think.
No, 66, the Roosters didn't
where
win a
my
game.
dad played.
Oh, that's true. Thanks for the for the history lesson. You had me at 69. Now, look, I think that Canterbury played good last week against St George. They put up a bit of a strong performance. I don't think we're going to have a blowout scoreline against the Bulldogs. I think they need to make a good account of ourselves.
Kieran Foran's back for them, so he's a great player.
And listen, you don't have wins like that back to back. 59-0 against the Broncos, then come out and smash the next side. They might be dominant, but I don't think it's going to be a big scoreline to 0. I think. It'd be great to have it to 0. I just don't think it's going to be a blowout.
What's your prediction?
Roosters 22, Bulldogs 6.
What about you, Bells?
I'm thinking 38-0.
38-0?
Yeah, we're going to hold them to 0 again.
75 grand final. You're reminiscing tonight.
Yeah, 38-0.
Yeah, listen, I reckon we're going to put a score on them too. I'll go 44-6. I just think our style of play, and as we heard with Luke Keary tonight, we're fit, we're ready to play football, and these new rules, they work in our favour. So good luck to the opposition teams trying to combat that roll through the middle.
Right, I'm redoing this. As a kid, the Bulldogs broke our heart many years with the Terry Lambs and all that. And they're always in the grand finals when we were, you were trudging the sidelines as a ball boy. I was up there eating cakes from my grandmother next to me grandfather in the stand, just having a little squiz at you. Roosters 52, Bulldogs 0.
Well, there you go. We've got 52-0, 44-6. And is it 69-0 or 38-0?
No, I'll keep it clean. 38-0.
Well, that's it for this episode of Roosters Radio. We'd like to thank our very special guest, the one and only Luke Keary, and of course our CEO Joe Kelly. That's it for Roosters Radio. East to win.
The Roosters, the best we've ever seen. The red, white and Roosters, the east and southern team. East to win, shout out with pride, let everybody know. If you play this football game, beware the Roosters grow. They're great to see in action, these boys will show the way. Put the Roosters on the field, they'll show you how to play. Here come the Roosters, the best we've ever seen. The red, white and Roosters, the eastern side.